Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Self Storage Report. I am Thaddeus Campbell, Director of Business Development and Strategic Branding for S3 Partners, host of the Stories Behind the Door podcast. The handsome guy to the right on the graphic that we introed with is Chris Berg, Land Acquisition Specialist for Abernathy Holdings, host of the CRE Report. Chris today is at the California SSA Investor Forum in Southern California. He is not able to join us live today. Very much looking forward. And in fact, we are going to be together tomorrow. I'm heading on a plane. I'm heading to the airport in Philadelphia right after the show, flying out to Anaheim. Chris and I will be together tomorrow at Toy Storage Nation. Any of you folks in SoCal that want to come out to the Anaheim Hilton, an amazing event concentrating on boat and RV storage, Chris and I will be out there, and we're going to go live from that show to recap a little bit of what Chris discovers today at the Investor Forum out, or the Owners Forum out in California. Also maybe talk a little bit about what's going on at the Boat and RV Show. But 1 o'clock on Thursday, East Coast time, 10 a.m. Pacific time, we promise you guys that we're going to be here. So I'm going to fly solo today. We have a big announcement to make. We were able to finalize an agreement with someone I have a tremendous amount of respect for in the self-storage industry. Noah Starr, owner of and CEO of Tract IQ, is joining us officially. You may have seen on the intro graphic as our data partner. So we're very excited to work closely with Tract IQ. Noah's an amazing individual, is contributing a lot to the industry overall. There are a few different data platforms, and quite frankly, you guys have seen us use all of them over time, and we'll continue to use some of those other data platforms if we can find something that we can't find in another place. Amazing that Noah's been as generous as he has. What I'm most excited about this partnership with Tract IQ is not just the amazing data that they provide to us. Noah is going to come and join us live on the show about once every month. So about every 4 weeks, you're going to see him hop on and join us and provide something that he is deeply motivated by, which is the data behind self-storage. If you don't know Noah's story, you can check him out. He's been on the CRE Report with Chris Berg. He's been on the Stories Behind the Door podcast with myself. And so you can go and get a little bit of his story. But amazing time for Chris and I. We're very grateful to have this partnership moving forward. And today, I'm going to start with some data that we got shortly after the show finished. Excuse me for looking at my screen here. And we're going to share. Why is this? There we go. That's what we want to do. Why can't I show this, Eric? Let's see. There we go. I figured it out. All right. So we've got the rate information came out for June late last week after we did the show last week. So kind of want to dive into this graph and, factually, what is it saying? And I saw something very interesting. We had opined that we thought rates might continue that upward climb that they'd been on since February. We saw a slight rise in February, and then March, April into May, really nice jumps. And, we were thinking we're going to see that continued jump maybe through June as we get a late leasing season. And we saw something interesting. The rates continued to climb a little bit in June, not incredible, but a little bit of climb. Where I thought this was very interesting was the difference between street rates and web rates. We actually saw a slight decline in web rates. And that's only the second time that's happened since 2022. So if you go back to May of 2022, you can see June, July. I don't know if it's July or August, but there was a month there where street rates continued to climb and web rates continued to decline. And that was the last time that's happened. So it's been 3 years since we've seen this divergence between street weights. I'm talking like Bugs Bunny over here, street rates and web rates. What does this mean? Well, we've heard that, as the REITs start to move away maybe from the discount pricing model and moving street rates in order to define a certain discount they're giving. What do I mean by that? Well, they would know a price point that they want to offer a unit at. So if they want to offer a 10 by 10 unit at $70, the next step would be, what's our discount going to be this month? If we're going to give 50% off for the first month or 2 months or 3 months, well, then we're going to make the street rate say $140 instead of making the street rate indicative of what they actually might be achieving in that store. That was a strategy that was employed for a while. much talked about. We've covered it on the show. Not exhaustively. I hope. We've covered it in a way that was informative. But we've certainly covered that strategy. Maybe some of the levers that have pushed to make it sort of fade away. And so I think what we're seeing here is a lot of the stores now reporting street rates as more of a representation of what's actually happening in the store. Why do web rates decline? Well, we might be seeing that we finished the leasing season and they're seeing less volume and less transactions happening in the store. So lowering web rates. I'm having trouble with those two words for some reason, to try and get more people in the door. Very typical if you go back over the course of 15, 20 years, that you're going to see these types of fluctuations at this time of year as we finish the strong March, April, May leasing season. So am I concerned with that? I'm not concerned. It's nice to see the street rates continuing to go up. Is it something to absolutely keep an eye on? Does that divergence make me a little bit more interested in seeing what happens in early August when we get the numbers for July? Certainly something I want to keep an eye on as we keep track of, hey, did we really hit the bottom of what's going to happen in self-storage rates? We've talked a lot over the last couple of weeks about what's going on in the housing market. A lot of homes for sale right now, significantly more than the number of buyers in the market. Something interesting that I've been keeping my eye on that's happened in the last week, we started to see interest rates on 30-year mortgages creep back up more towards 7. They were under 6.5 a week or 2 weeks ago when I showed them on the show. We're getting up now where I'm seeing 6.8, even 7% rates on a 30-year fixed mortgage. That is a concerning thing for me as far as the velocity of the housing market. Keeping an eye on that. One of the things we've been talking about over the course of the last couple of weeks that I want to share and show you guys that I've been keeping track of. I know Chris went over this a couple weeks ago, but something we promised we'd keep an eye on, and you may have missed that show, so I want to make sure I give you an opportunity if you're viewing for the first time. Something we're really paying attention to. This is Pulte Group, the fourth by stock price of the 4 big home builders across the country. I'm looking at their 5-year, and you can see this sort of strong climb into October of 2024. And this is right about the time when the Feds dropped interest rates for the first time. And since that happened, and if I go to a 1 year, it sort of shows it more dramatically. October 17th, October of 2024, we've seen a decline in Pulte stock price. I showed the 5-year. Every one of these is going to follow a similar trend. We look at Lennar, 5 years, strong climb up through October of 2024, steep drop off. If I look at it, a 1 year curve, no chart available. Don't ask me why that says that, because it was just there not that long ago. A decline, a sharp decline from up over almost $180 down under $120. Same thing, the same exact thing plays out for Toll Brothers. 1 year, you're seeing a steep drop from that high point. They actually lasted a little longer than everyone else. They went to November before you started to see the decline. Into late December 2024, a sharp decline, continued downward, trending up a little bit, but kind of like, is it a fake peak? That's kind of the premise that we've built looking back historically at how these housing stocks have been a precursor of what's going on in the overall market over the course of the last few real estate cycles, going back to 2008, going back to 1989, before then with the savings and loan crisis. D.R. Horton, same exact scenario plays out. Stocks climbed. And if we look at the last year, we're seeing that little bit of rebound. The question becomes, is this sort of a fake rebound as people felt like maybe home prices were going to drop? And no, it certainly doesn't appear that there's going to be any more buying velocity if you go on what's happening with interest rates, right? Interest rates are climbing on single family homes. That is not a statistic that I think is a great one for the overall economy. The question, of course, for us, this is the self-storage report, not the homes report. How is this going to play out with self-storage? And I think my overall philosophy on this has been consistent, and we've talked about this throughout shows, is that storage is going to be a really good place to be from an investment standpoint over the next couple of years. If we see the economic crisis that Chris and I have been talking about with the 18.6-year real estate cycle, self-storage tends to do very well in those situations relative to the broader economy. Does it mean that self-storage is going to thrive? I don't think so. Does it mean that self-storage will be a place that you'd rather be than some other places? For sure. Am I an investment counselor? No. By no means should you take my advice to go make investments decisions. You should 100% gather data for yourself and make those decisions. But tracking historically what's happened in those situations, self-storage has certainly been a place to be. So we are going to keep the self-storage report pretty short today. I'm solo anchoring. If you didn't hear at the beginning of the show, Chris is at the California SSA Owners Forum. We will be together out in Anaheim, California tomorrow for Toy Storage Nation. If any of you guys are in Southern California and can make it, that's a great event. Amy Bix has been hosting these events for a few years now about the boat and RV storage space. I actually was invited out there as a representative of S3 Partners to run a roundtable on small bay industrial flex, which is something that we're heavily involved in. Small bay industrial flex being an asset that very frequently can be built on a larger boat and RV site as a complement to a boat and RV storage facility. So any of you folks in Southern California that are interested in the small bay industrial flex space, come on out to the event. You can follow the links to Toy Storage Nation. You can go on LinkedIn and find Toy Storage Nation. It's not too late to register for that one-day conference. Starts at 10 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow, and you'll get to see yours truly there. Chris and I are planning to go live from the show. We have a special guest that we think is going to come live with us. We've been told that that person is ready to come and join us. We aren't going to promise that yet because who knows if they change their mind before tomorrow, but they'll be at the conference with us. And we're hoping to go live, give a recap, as I said, of the California Self-Storage Association show. Depending on how far in we go live during the Toy Storage Nation, may give a recap of what's going on there as well. Want to conclude by once again just saying how grateful we are to have this relationship moving forward with Tract IQ. It's going to be a couple weeks, and we will have Noah Starr on the first full week of August. He's scheduled on that Thursday to come and join us live for his first time on the show. And we're going to be doing what we do here. We're going to be digging into the data, and then we're going to be having a conversation about what we think it means. For all of you folks out there, please, whether it's on LinkedIn, direct message, reach out to us. If you have my phone number's on my LinkedIn account, very easy to get to. Shoot me an email. Same thing for Chris Berg. Shoot him an email, shoot him a DM on LinkedIn. If you have thoughts about what's going on in the overall economy, in the housing market, in self-storage specifically, or how those things are going to be affecting self-storage, we want to hear from you, because this is not just us wanting to tell you what we think. We want to pick the brains of the people. And a lot of what Chris and I are talking about are from a lot of the conversations that we have with various people in the industry, helping to inform our decisions. We want to hear from you. So please feel free to reach out. Again, you didn't get to see him today, but he's Chris Berg, land acquisition specialist for Abernathy Holdings, host of the CRE Report, which you can subscribe to and follow the links to go see. I am Thaddeus Campbell, Director of Business Development and Strategic Branding for S3 Partners, host of the Stories Behind the Door podcast. Really excited to have the audience giving us the feedback that they're giving us on the self-storage report. Look forward to continuing to bring you this sort of data-driven news every week on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time, and we'll see everybody next week.